The theme of the present video is the experiments which suggested, designed, developed and accomplished Yannis Sakas, professional engineer in mechanical and electrical engineering and doctor of MIT, in order to demonstrate the feasibility of the legendary accomplishments of the great physicist, mathematician and engineer of the antiquity, Archimedes of Syracuse, by using the technology existing in his era. Yannis Sakas was a multi-sided personality, forerunner in the implementation of the alternative energy sources, mainly the solar and wind energy. Devotee of the ancient Greek history, he was regularly present each year in the anniversary of the battle in Platees, whose date he had determined, commemorating the honorable death of the warriors defending the freedom of homeland. He was adorer of the technology as well as all who served her diachronically, Archimedes primarily, who is the most important of his technological achievements verified: the hydraulic horologe, the steam cannon, and the burning of the Roman vessels in the Syracuse harbor, implementing flat mirrors. Some of Yannis Sakas' experiments have been recorded by using the means existing at that time, home cinema, namely four, three of which in 1973 were related to the incendiary action of the sun's radiation, implementing flat mirrors. The fourth one, in 1981, the steam's power in ballistics with the steam cannon. Bronze sculpture of Archimedes by Gerhard Thieme, 1972, Berlin Treptow, Germany. The sequence of the experiments which were designed and executed by Yannis Sakas in order to prove the feasibility of burning wooden targets by the use of flat mirrors, constructed with polished copper, is the following. Experiment number 1, June 24, 1973 at 9:30 in Heliopolis with 50 mirrors at 40 meters distance with success. Experiment 2, July 17, 1973 at 15:30 in Heliopolis with 100 mirrors at 85 meters distance, failure. Experiment 3, July 22, 1973 at 15:30 in Heliopolis, 130 mirrors at 100 meters distance with success. Experiment 4, November 3, 1973, 12 o'clock in Skaramangas with 60 mirrors at 55 meters distance with success. Experiment 5, November 6, 1973, 12 o'clock in Skaramangas with 70 mirrors at 55 meters distance with success. The expenses for the construction of the mirrors were covered by the Technical Chamber of Greece. The grounds for the land experiments were granted by the Public Power Corporation, and the site of the experiments on the floating target was granted by the Ministry of National Defense, Hellenic Navy Central Staff, as well as the appointment of the Marines for the manipulation of the mirrors. This is a sketch of the disposition of the mirrors manipulated by soldiers, hoplites, on site on top of the city walls, showing the principle of Archimedes' war machine for setting fire to the Roman vessels in the harbor of Syracuse. Second experiment, burning target on the ground, 17th July 1973, 3:30 post-meridian, in Heliopolis. Preparing the arrangement of mirrors. 100 mirrors at 85 meters distance from the target. Mirrors from copper-plated glass 0.69 by 170 meters. The officer and the staff. The sergeants. The manipulation and handling of the mirrors was executed by volunteers. The focusing spot. Waiting for more handling volunteers. They are coming, followed by their children. Trying to focus as many mirrors as possible onto the focusing spot. Yannis Sakas transfers the wooden target onto the focusing spot, trying to focus as many mirrors as possible by waving to the handlers. Volunteers representing the hoplites. The target started emitting smoke. Unfortunately, the wind interfered, disarrayed and broke many mirrors, rendering this experiment unsuccessful. Third experiment, burning target on the ground. 22nd July 1933, 3:30 post-meridian in Heliopolis. Preparing the arrangement of mirrors. 130 mirrors at a mean distance of 100 meters from the target. The focusing spot. Mirrors from copper-plated glass 0.69 by 170 meters. The target started emitting smoke. Yannis Sakas places a wind protection barrier next to the target. He shows the point to aim the mirrors. The wind started blowing forcibly, bringing down some of the mirrors. But it did not accomplish to ruin the experiment this time. The target finally got fire, and the flames proved the success of the experiment. Fifth experiment of burning floating target representing the Roman ships using flat mirrors in Skaramangas Bay, 6th November 1973, 12 o'clock noon, Palaskas Admiralty Training Center. Array of 70 copper-plated glass mirrors, size 0.69 by 170 meters. The mirrors are held and trained by equal numbered Marines. The mirrors are deployed at an angle of two vertical arrays at a mean distance of 55 meters from the target, which is attached onto the side of a small boat. The Navy commanders, officials, VIPs and other spectators. You may see the floating target with the mirror's reflections on the breakwater wall behind. From a script by Yannis Sakas, the boat is rearranged in the shape of a galley with a wall of hardwood lightly coated with tar and pieces of lint, representing the fabric of the outfit of the crew and the appendage of the ships. In the preparatory stage, the reflections of the mirrors are scattered horizontally at each side of the target. Half an hour prior and after solar noon, the sun moves at closely horizontal trajectory, resulting to an almost horizontal movement of the static mirror reflection upon the breakwater wall behind the flat boat. The marine retains the boat with a rope and moves it so to keep it in pace with the movement of the mirror reflection. The sun has reached its climax. The order has been given. The mirrors are rotated vertically so as to steer the reflected beam onto the focal point, the boat. The ignition was effected within seconds, and in moments after, the galley started burning. After 3 minutes, fire consumes the galley. 2 eyewitnesses. The very wide smiles of the day. The triumphant modern Archimedes, the Admiralty, and the VIPs.
The Romans realized the effects of using glass to capture the heat from the sun, but 500 or so years earlier, the ancient Greeks had apparently already discovered ways of using the destructive power of the sun's heat. A mythical Greek invention was said to have been used as a weapon against the Romans in the 3rd century BC. It was known as the Archimedes death ray. In Syracuse, in what is now modern-day Sicily, the inventor Archimedes was planning ways to fend off a Roman attack. A story claims he used the power of the sun to destroy the Roman ships in the harbor. It seems an unlikely claim, yet the story has survived to this day.
In 214 BC, the Romans attacked the town of Syracuse. The Syracusans relied on their most famous citizen, the philosopher-inventor Archimedes, to defend the city.
Archimedes ordered soldiers to polish their metal shields so they shone like mirrors. He then positioned the soldiers around the harbor and made them reflect the heat of the sun onto the Roman ships below.
Archimedes devised a clever system of reflecting mirrors, probably using polished shields, to send a tight, bright ray of light towards the Roman ships in the harbor. That ray would certainly have blinded their navigation, and according to some stories, the ships actually caught fire.
It is difficult to imagine that the shields could have had such a dramatic effect, yet could hundreds of them really have acted as a death ray? The idea that Archimedes could burn a fleet of ships with a series of mirrors has been ridiculed in many academic circles. Some historians have claimed he used lenses and not mirrors. But one defender of the mirror theory was Professor Yannis Sakas. Sakas, a tireless experimenter, spent much of his career reconstructing ancient Greek technological weapons and mechanical devices. He decided to put the Archimedes mirror theory to the test. Sakas successfully created a fire using a barrage of polished metal shields. But he decided to take the test a step further, with the help of the Greek Navy.
Τελικά έφτασε να κάνει το μεγάλο πείραμα το Νοέμβριο του 1973, οπότε χρησιμοποιώντας ναύτες από το σταθμό του Παλάσκα κάτω στον Πειραιά, με 70 ασπίδες μεγάλες, καλογιαλισμένες, έκαψε ένα ρωμαϊκό αντίγραφο, δηλαδή ένα μικρό καραβάκι, μια μικρή βάρκα που είχαν τα ρωμαϊκά πλοία της εποχής εκείνης.
Amazingly, the experiment proved that the Archimedes death ray really could have worked. So was perhaps not a myth after all.
Σε δευτερόλεπτα άρχισε να φαίνεται καπνός και σε 2-3 λεπτά είχε καεί.
This ancient Greek technology is actually being employed by scientists working today. In an extraordinary parallel, scientists in Colorado in America have created a vast experimental solar-powered furnace, which works on exactly the same principle as the Archimedes death ray. It focuses hundreds of mirrors onto a central point, which then heats to immense temperatures of thousands of degrees Celsius. Its future uses include manufacturing for high-tech industries.